Alright, loyal followers of the BS Academy channel, as I mentioned today, I want to thoroughly examine heikin-ashi candles and explain how they are formed and what differences they have compared to Japanese candles, as well as the 5 important heikin-ashi rules that you need to know about these candles. By the end of this video, we aim to have a complete understanding of heikin-ashi candles. In future videos, I will try to teach you 1 or 2 strategies related to these candles in the coming days. Alright, the first point I want to discuss about heikin-ashi candles is that if you pay attention, you'll see that all the candles seem to start from the middle of the previous candle. This is the first difference between heikin-ashi candles and Japanese candles. The calculation of the opening point of each heikin-ashi candle is based on the previous candle's open and close. It is calculated as follows: the open of the previous candle plus the close of the previous candle divided by 2. It might seem strange, but in simple terms, each candle starts exactly from the middle of the previous candle. For instance, if we consider this candle here, it starts right from the middle of the previous candle. The red one also starts exactly from the middle of the previous one, and so on. All the candles start exactly from the 50% point of the previous candle, meaning their open is at the center of the prior candle. Alright, I want to show you a point to better illustrate the difference between heikin-ashi candles and Japanese candlesticks. In these heikin-ashi candles, let me make this line white and a bit thicker so you can see it better. I'll draw a line here as well. Sorry about that, let's make this one a bit thicker and white too, so I think it will be clearer on the screen. Look exactly at the distance between these 2 white lines I marked. Between these 2 lines, we have a relatively strong downtrend. A downtrend filled with consecutive red candles, and there are no green candles, which are displayed as blue here, in between. Now let me switch this to candlesticks so you can see what it looks like. Notice that in the same section of our chart, when we switch to Japanese candlesticks, we see that there are 1, 2, 3 green candles among them. The bodies vary. Some are large, some are small, with upper and lower shadows. If you look at before and after this section as well, there are many green and red candles with varying bodies. Now, let's switch back to heikin-ashi. We can see that our chart looks a bit cleaner, smoother, and more organized. There are no green candles between them, making it look more uniform. This is one of the differences with heikin-ashi, and some traders prefer to trade with heikin-ashi because it presents the chart in a cleaner and more streamlined manner. Alright, typically the movement of heikin-ashi candles is such that when a trend forms, first let me explain how we can determine the strength of the trend. Let me clear these lines to avoid cluttering the chart. Alright, here we see an upward trend. In an upward trend, the important point for us is that the candles do not have lower shadows. As we can see, there are no lower shadows on these candles. When 2 or 3 consecutive candles form without lower shadows, we understand that an upward trend has been established. Conversely, in a downward trend, there should be no upper shadows. When 2 or 3 consecutive red candles form without upper shadows, we understand that our trend has turned downward. The strength of the trend, whether upward or downward, depends on the body size of the candles and the shadows. In an upward trend, if we see that the body of the candle has become smaller and a lower shadow has formed, we understand that the strength of our upward trend has actually decreased. In a downward trend, it works the same way. Here, if you see a large body without an upper shadow, and then the body becomes smaller with an upper shadow forming, it indicates that the strength of the trend is decreasing. Similarly, the trend then reverses to an upward trend. So the strength of the trend depends on the body of the candle and the shadows. Typically in heikin-ashi candles, when a trend forms, you can see here an example of an upward trend. It moves up, and then we see a few consecutive candles with small bodies and shadows both above and below. When we see a situation like this, the trend usually changes afterward. Here it was upward, and then it turned downward. Let me find a better spot to show you clearly and better explain my point. Look, the behavior of heikin-ashi candles is generally like this. Here it's very clearly defined. We had an upward trend, which is our uptrend, and here we have a downward trend, or our downtrend. In the middle here, we see a series of doji-like candles forming. These candles have very small bodies and shadows both above and below. This is what we call a consolidation point or price stability. What does this mean? It means that the price has risen from here to here, stabilized around this point, and then started to decline again. Whenever we see such a pattern of consecutive candles forming in this way, we can be certain that the trend, whatever it was, will reverse after these candles. This means here we had an upward trend. These candles formed in this way, and after that, the trend turned downward. Now here, again, after this downward trend, the candles form similarly with long upper and lower shadows. Look at the shadows here and the small bodies, and then the trend turned upward again. So this is the second point you need to know about these candles. Whenever you see several candles with small bodies and large upper and lower shadows, the trend, whatever it was, will reverse. This means a trend reversal is occurring. As you can see here, in the upward trend, the candles had no lower shadows, indicating a strong trend. But here, we see consolidation happening, followed by a decline. But let's move on to the 5 important rules you need to know, the 5 key features and factors of heikin-ashi candles that you must be aware of. Rule number 1. An upward trend consists of a series of consecutive green candles, and a downward trend consists of a series of consecutive red candles. In heikin-ashi, you won't see a red candle between the green candles in an upward trend, or a green candle between the red candles in a downward trend. An upward trend consists of strong consecutive green candles, and a downward trend consists of consecutive red candles. I've explained some of these points earlier in the video, but now I'm going over them in detail to review and to make sure nothing is missed. Rule number 2. The strength and momentum of the trend are indicated by large candles without shadows. Look at these examples. Large candles with big bodies and no shadows. By no shadows, I mean in upward trends, there are no lower shadows, and in downward trends, there are no upper shadows. These indicate a strong trend. Momentum here is with the buyers, and here it's with the sellers. The larger the body, the stronger the trend. As you can see here, there's a small lower shadow, but those without any shadows at all are even stronger. Rule number 3. Contrary to the previous rule, the smaller the candles get and the more shadows they have, the weaker the trend becomes. So the strength of the trend, whether it is increasing or decreasing, directly depends on the size of the candle body and the presence of shadows. Here, as you can see, the candles gradually have smaller bodies and a shadow has formed above. The upper shadow gets bigger, and we see that the trend then turns upward. The smaller the body and the larger the shadow, the more we understand that the strength of the trend has decreased. In a downward trend, the upper shadow shows the weakening trend, and in an upward trend, the lower shadow does the same. As I mentioned in the first rule, the candles should be consecutively green without red ones in between. For example, in a situation like this, we can't say it's a very strong upward trend, or here, something like this doesn't indicate a strong upward trend. Rule number 4. The next rule is about consolidation or price stabilization, which occurs when several consecutive candles have small bodies and large shadows. I explained these earlier, but now I'm going through them one by one in detail. If you want, you can write these down one by one so that nothing is missed. So again, rule number 4. Consolidation or price stabilization occurs when several consecutive candles have small bodies and large shadows both above and below. This indicates that a trend reversal is likely to follow. Rule number 5. After consolidation or price stabilization, as explained in the previous rule, a trend reversal occurs. Whatever the trend was before, it will reverse afterward. If it was an upward trend, it will turn downward after the consolidation, and vice versa. For example, here we have a downward trend followed by a consolidation, and then it turns into an upward trend. Dear friends, to make sure you don't miss any of our videos, please subscribe to the BS Academy channel. Also, activate the notification bell so that you are informed as soon as we publish new videos. Thank you for your support.